Good morning, everyone. Well, like I said when I made the last video, I was going to sit right down and do this one, but I felt the need for speed, borrowing a Tom Cruise line. So I made myself some coffee. I know one of you said that they like my afternoon videos because I don't seem as energetic because I haven't been drinking coffee. Well, now I am. It's a little cool because of a storm that just went by, so that hits the spot. Okay, we talked about in the video before last about there being a word wrong, where they've got these things are going to happen soon, when the real word should have been quickly, but they didn't understand the Greek back when they translated it years ago, and nobody wanted to change it because they didn't understand Revelation. Revelation is relatively a new book to be examined because it was so far out in the future that nobody cared. There has to be a temple in Jerusalem. Well, until 1948, there was no temple. I mean, there was no place to put a temple. Now there's a place as soon as they can get the fighting done. The big worldly peacemaker will arrive. He's going to give them their 7 years of peace. Yeah. That's why we got to be out of here, because we know all this history. Did I not turn my other light on? Let me do this. Okay, that kind of smooths things out. Okay, so what we're going to look at, Revelation chapter 6, verse 1. We're going to read about the things that are coming, and they're going to happen quickly. The first 4 seals that are open unleash a horse. A horse at the time was the fastest transportation out there. They didn't have airplanes like I've got one flying over. They didn't have cars and motorcycles. Where is this guy? Sounds like he's flying over the lakes. We look good from the air too. And it's kind of a landmark area down here. You can see this big lake, and it extends long on both sides, bigger than what we see here. Okay, so I've said this before also, the book of Revelation is for the most part an accumulation and a better statement of Old Testament prophets. So we're going to see these are talked about in Ezekiel and Jeremiah. Maybe not the same exact way because they were looking about 600 years earlier. So there's a difference in what they describe, but it's the same thing. So we end up with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, as we call them today. We get their names from the Old Testament. Conquest or zealous, war, Aries. Yes, the Aries that we know from the zodiac. Famine is Lemos, and death is Thanatos. So these are our 4 creatures, horsemen in Revelation. They didn't really have them described that way. Ezekiel described them as sword, famine, wild beast, and pestilence, or plague. He just knew what they were going to do. He didn't have the full vision that John did. Okay, so they're revealed by the only one capable of opening the seals, and that's Jesus. We also covered that in the previous 2 videos back. These are the first 4 of the 7 seals. And these are not good. By having a man on a horse also depicts this is what we've done to ourselves. God isn't doing this. He's allowing it to happen. But it's happening because of what man has done. So, turn with me to Revelation 6:1. We'll read about the first seal. And each one of them has kind of the same introduction. We saw that in the letters. They kind of have the same format. Now I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard one of the four living creatures saying, with a voice like thunder, "Come and see." Okay, that's going to be repeated. 6:2, and I looked, and behold, a white horse, and he who sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given to him. He didn't come with his crown. It was given to him. He was appointed. And he went out conquering and to conquer. Now, conquering does not necessarily mean killing. It says he has a bow. It doesn't say he has arrows. He's going to conquer the nations that are at war, and they will have peace. The Antichrist is what we believe to be the first horseman. Okay, the second seal is conflict. When he opened the second seal, I heard a second living creature saying, "Come and see." Another horse, fiery red, went out, and it was granted to the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth, and that people should kill one another. And there was given him a great sword. Unlike the bow without arrows, the sword can kill with it as it is. What's the order of these things? The first one, we should see peace if he's the Antichrist, but we know it's short-lived. That he really wasn't going to give him 7 years. Some people think that because of this potential writer is why we're possibly in the tribulation, but we're not. We've had wars and rumors of wars forever, and Jesus pointed that out. The Antichrist is around when this is happening. But the Middle East may be at peace, but there may be war elsewhere. Okay? A lot of everything focuses on the Middle East, on Israel. But we know we got Ukraine, we got Taiwan, we got North Korea. China wants to be involved in stuff. There's going to continue to be war, and the Antichrist may not stop all that stuff. He's only focusing on the Middle East. Now, he may do things temporarily, but he's not going to be able to hold them. Verse 5. When he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature saying, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on him had a pair of scales in his hands. Lady Justice holding the scales. You put something on one side, the other side has to balance. So they would have weights. You put a 1 ounce weight on this side, and you put an ounce of gold on this side, and when they're level, you have an ounce of gold. If it's tilted one way or the other, you take away or you remove from the gold side until they balance. And then you have an ounce of gold, and then you would get paid for an ounce of gold. Scales have been around for a long time, but these scales are bad. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a denarius." A quart of wheat would be a jar of wheat, which would be the amount that you would need to make one loaf of bread. And a denarius is a day's wage. So that's the scale we're looking at. Bread's not that expensive yet, but it will be. And 3 quarts of barley for a denarius. It takes more barley. And do not harm the oil or the wine. Who's concerned about oil and wine? The rich people. Israel has natural gas, enough to tempt Russia to come down. They don't want to harm that. Okay, 6-7, the fourth seal. When he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the four living creatures saying, "Come and see." And 8, so I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And the name of him that sat on him was Death, and Hades follows, hell follows. And power was given to them over a fourth of the earth to kill with the sword, with hunger, with death in general, and by the beasts of the earth. That's not a pleasant way to go either, any of those. Now, the first couple of seals probably happen right off the bat. But then there may be some gaps. We know that the seals go from the beginning of the tribulation when things start, because it's the Antichrist coming into the play. And if we look at the end of it, we see that it covers the whole tribulation time frame. The 70th week. Whatever's left of the 70th week, the seals cover it. So there's plenty of stuff to happen before and after the abomination. Now the abomination is the wrath of God following that, because that pushes him too far. This other stuff that's happening, the seals, that's man stuff. But God gets involved with the bowls. And you're going to also interlace these with the trumpets. So these things are going to be happening. It's only 7 years from beginning to end of the tribulation time frame, if you're looking at all of it. And some people have shortened it, saying some of it happened during Jesus' time. It's not worth arguing over. Fine, it doesn't matter. There's room in here for everything to happen. None of this has happened before. Some people say, well, it happened in the 1st and 2nd century or whatever. It happened when this happened, and it happened when this happened throughout history. It's been 2,000 years. They try to fit this in. You need the country of Israel for this to work. Without it, it doesn't work. You need the temple for this to work. Without it, it doesn't work. You need a place for the 2 witnesses. You can't put this in the previous 2,000 years. So, we are seeing the run-up to this. It hasn't started yet, because the Antichrist will be hand-tied. He's kind of tied to a degree now, because he's working for the beast. We've seen where the harlot's riding the beast. The imagery of that. As soon as he doesn't need her anymore, he will get rid of her and kill her. The beast will kill the harlot. The harlot being the Babylon system that's running things now. You can't have 2 rulers. The Antichrist doesn't want to compete with the other world kings. Remember, there's 7 kings, and then one dies and becomes the 8th. That's the Antichrist. And he doesn't want to deal with the other 6. So he's going to get rid of them. And he'll have the power of Satan to do that. Then he's going to annoy God beyond his ability to deal with it. So he's going to release his wrath. This is all stuff coming that we don't have to worry about. How much are Christians that are surviving into the tribulation going to have to deal with? In the beginning, they're not going to have to deal with a whole lot, because they're going to be martyred. They will be killed. But Jesus showed us on the cross, by taking a horrible death, that you can still survive a horrible death. Nobody wants it. Of course, if we have loved ones that are carried over into the tribulation, nobody wants it. But Jesus showed that we can survive it. So know that they can survive it too. Plant the seeds in your family now. If they accept before the rapture, great, we all go up together. If not, they're going to remember. So plant the seeds. You may not be around for the harvest, but it doesn't matter. God won't forget. Okay, my next video we're going to continue on from here, and we're going to see exactly where in the description of the seals that it covers all of it, the time frame. And then we're going to look at the trumpets. So we're going to keep working through Revelation right now. This is what's coming that we don't have to deal with, but we have to warn the people. God always warns people before destruction. Okay. My throat's getting dry from talking too much. God always warns people. And if you're told to go warn people, He may have a fish for you to dwell in for a little while. He's done that before. Now, He tends to not duplicate specific things like that. It might just be that you get lost in a cave, or you momentarily lose your eyesight. God has different ways. We all have our fears. And He can use those fears. He doesn't like to punish, but He can let us punish ourselves. Remember, it was Jonah who said, "Throw me in the water." He didn't say, "My God said, throw me in the water." He said, "Throw me in the water, maybe my God will have mercy on you." We do all this stuff to ourselves. Till we meet in the clouds. God bless.